Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think that all comes back to just the basics. If you're not going to put in the time and the effort to be better than everyone else, and every business out there has to take a hit or two to learn what doesn't work.
Exactly. Every
I
business.
mean, television is the best example for this. For every show that people are like, man, that show is my favorite growing up. True, but how many shows sucked and lasted maybe 2 episodes?
So many.
Trial and error got you to that show that you wanted, and they lost a lot of money making those
Oh
shows.
yeah. Exactly.
But you know, one of the things that helped set a foundation for successful shows was having a solid cast of people. We would like to call that foundation.
Yep.
This brings us back to the final thing I want to talk about today, and that's the flower. It is something that you do. It's often something that I hear debated about. It's funny because the last time that we did this, there was a guy who said, man, I dabbled in extracts, and my extracts were damn good. But I found that balancing one or the other was difficult for me. How difficult is the process of growing your own flower and balancing that alongside the extract business?
That's definitely a huge topic that is amongst a lot of people. Your beginning product matters, and what your consistency is going to be in the end of your product. If you're going to start with if you're going to look for shatter, there's many Kushes, like as you see in all clubs, OG Kush. How many times do you see it sappy or runny compared to shatter? You don't really ever see OG shatter, being because of the strain. So at first, now I don't run into problems with what to grow for what consistency and to keep things consistent. Like if I want crumble or I want shatter, I know exactly what strains to grow now. But it took me quite a few years till I narrowed it down to what strains are good for what and how much CBN, CBD I need in the strain to get the consistency I want. So you see people all the time waste their time on growing certain flowers or the wrong flower for what they're wanting. And then when they're done with the finished product, they say, well, our flower was outstanding. I did nut grown. Why is it coming out this way? Well, because the characteristics of that flower and the genetics itself. And it's definitely important to do your studying and do your homework and take time and patience once again and learn what you're doing before you just step into the field and think you could just grow whatever you want. And just because it comes out looking good doesn't mean that the concentrate from it's going to be desirable whatsoever. I see people all the time waste whole indoor ops of beautiful, beautiful flower, running it into concentrate, and then their finished product is something that you will not want in front of you, something that isn't desirable. And it's not necessarily because they're using bad product, but the wrong product and the wrong genetics. And that really, as a lot of people do know in this industry, matters highly.
I think it matters in a lot of industries. You look at when James Toney fought Randy Couture. Well, James Toney had a lot of tools, but he didn't have the right tools for the fight that he was in. And I think that people often look at that. Well, but James Toney's a fighter, right? But he was in a fight where they could use wrestling, and it's like you were saying, circling back to the flower. Well, if you were trying to get product B, but you used product Q to start with, then you should be able to understand logically why your end product wasn't as fulfilling as it potentially could have been.
Exactly. And a lot of people, look into think that, oh, well, sativas come out good shatter and clear color, and indicas come out darker and not the quality you want, so you turn indicas to crumble. Not true necessarily at all. There's plenty of hybrids I can name off that I've used that end up coming out different consistency than you would think. Just because sativa doesn't mean it's going to come out solid, but I will admit most sativas will come out a lighter color and depending on the temperatures and the vacuum pressure you use. But obviously, if you're going to narrow it down and you want to know what strain turns into what, the only way I could say you could do it is trial and error. And then you're going to have to do plenty of homework. And if you ain't going to be able to have the patience for it, then you're not going to get further in this business. If you're going to, have one mishap, or you're going to take one downfall and you're going to quit and you're a quitter, then this ain't for you. You definitely have to, like you said, you take losses like in every business. And I couldn't stress enough how I see many people get into this industry and fall out very fast just because they can't get the finished product they want. Well, you're never going to reach what you want or find out what you need to grow to get that product unless you try.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's many different things that work for other people, and everyone's process is different, as we discussed. But as we talked, foundation in flour is most important to start with. That comes before even the thought of concentration. Without that, we wouldn't have the concentrates, right? So I'm glad you brought that up.
And you know, you look at the sort of the process that goes into all of this, the start, the end. People say, and it's like I circle back to the point that I originally brought up, that doing one has the potential to take away from the other, and you end up with maybe 2 B+ products instead of 2 A products. I tend to take the different approach on that, and I think that getting specialized in multiple disciplines, as I like to call it, can inform your other product rather than take away from it. Do you find that the experience of handling the own growth of your flour and the own development of your flour has not just informed your handling of your extract, the extract side of your business, but improved it?
Oh, definitely improved it because it allowed me to learn more hands-on. The strain not only matters. I've seen multiple people think, oh, well, because this is the same strain I did of my own, it's going to come out this finished product. Well, that's not true. It also depends on the way they feed their plants, what nutes they use. That all comes into play, and it all really matters. As I told you, I have one slab that I want to present that was ran through a closed loop by Emotech, and I have another that was ran open loop just to show people the undesirable traits. And as you can tell, there's just the color is outstanding difference. Not only that, but whenever you see a more clear product, that usually means the fat lipids were extracted. And whenever you see a darker product or anything with a green line through it or any cloudy marks, that's from fat lipids and chlorophyll. And a lot of people, I can tell you right now, I've seen people take the same exact strain and make beautiful, beautiful shatters, and then a week later take the same exact strain and it come out nectar. And not only, it's not because of something that went wrong, but maybe how the grower fed it, what carbohydrates they used. That all comes into play at the end. And definitely growing your own, like you said earlier, if you do it yourself, it's going to come out the way you want. If you don't, you can't expect them to do it the way you want. If you want things done right.
Forget that plants are living organisms that grow and evolve on their own, and the food that they eat tends to
change.
Yeah,
and it definitely matters. Those people who are out there who are trying to learn more and figure out what they want, how to get the desirable traits. The only way they're going to really find out is by pretty much growing, experimenting. And that's how I got to where I'm at, because trial and error. There's multiple times I've gotten the same strain that I got from the same person, and it come out different. And that's because of the way they feed it, like we just talked about. I don't know if you wanted to show the different products, and so that way they can see the quality difference and the health issues from the closed loops to the open loops.
Yeah, I think that we should definitely get to the product, and before we do, because we're gonna obviously be using 2 different techniques to film these segments. Do you want to just sort of tell people if you want them to go through Canna.Biz, or how they can get in touch? If they like what they see at the end of this, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch with you to get their product in their shops?
Definitely the way I'd want you guys to contact me would be definitely through Canna.Biz. I don't use other social networks. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who say, oh, well, we use Instagram, Facebook. Well, I'm not against those. I just don't prefer to use them. I'd rather stick to person, professional, and through Canna.Biz. And that's pretty much about it. There's also, like I said, I wish I could have brought in other concentrates and other things to show today, but I wasn't able to do so I brought what I could.
All right, well, let's get to taking a look at some of these products.